In Palestine, Israeli genocidal forces have been dropping bombs on residential buildings in the southern Gaza Strip from Thursday evening to Friday morning, claiming at least 38 lives, including 14 children, as the siege in the region continues. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, arrived in Algeria to hold a meeting with the Algerian Prime Minister, Mohamed Nadir Larboui, to discuss issues of mutual interest. And in Uruguay, the election silence is underway ahead of the upcoming national elections to be held on Sunday, October 27th. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belen de los Santos from the TeleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. We begin with Palestine, as Israeli genocidal forces have been dropping bombs on residential buildings in the southern Gaza Strip from Thursday evening to Friday morning, claiming at least 38 lives, including 14 children. This has been part of the Israeli ground offensive in the Al-Manara neighborhood of Khan Younis, amounting to a death toll of 38 people, most of them women and children, in addition to multiple injured. Furthermore, at the Nasser Healthcare Center, physicians told that 14 children died by suffocation as a result of the deadly shelling on buildings, which caused collapses while people were still inside.
We were all women and children. I lost my husband and my sister lost her husband. There was no fighter here. We were all civilians. Suddenly, we all found ourselves under the rubble and we dug with our hands to get our children out from under the rubble. We were bombed at 10 p.m. and at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, the ambulance and civil defense came. Those who were under the rubble had already died.
And in this context, from the Gaza Strip, our colleague Huda Hegazi gives us more details about the latest Israeli bombardments in the Jabalia refugee camp.
Yesterday was considered one of the most atrocious and genocidal days since the beginning of the terrestrial military operation in the north of the Gaza Strip, specifically in the refugee camp of Jabalia by the Israeli army, which is already entering its 21st day in a row. Yesterday, the Israeli army committed various crimes, whether with hospitals, with civilians, as well as with the attack on residential houses. First of all, I would like to highlight the aggression that was committed against the different hospitals of the camp of Jabalia, as well as with the medical personnel, with the patients, with the wounded. Yesterday, the director of the hospital, Kamal Adwan, assured that the Israeli army was directly attacking the buildings and the interior of this hospital. The tallest buildings of the Kamal Adwan hospital were directly attacked by artillery projectiles, as well as missiles from aircraft of the occupation army. Even at the beginning, it was prevented that anyone could enter or leave and evacuate from that medical center, since Israel proceeded to attack them directly, as was the case with the Al-Ada hospital, which is very close to the Kamal Adwan hospital. However, hours later, and after these two hospitals were invaded and surrounded by the occupation forces, Israeli army soldiers began to call on the administration of the Kamal Adwan hospital, of the Al-Ada hospital, as well as the administration of the Media Luna Roja International Organization, as well as the Red Cross, and began to order them to evacuate the buildings and those medical centers without taking anything with them, and to go in a straight line to the Indonesian hospital, which is also located in the camp of Jabalia. Therefore, we are saying that Israel prevented the ambulances from evacuating the medical equipment, but only the patients and medical equipment could be evacuated with what they were carrying. No one could carry anything, therefore. We are saying that the 4 ambulances that were in the northern area have gone out of service, as they have not been able to be evacuated with the patients and the injured. Also, the only ambulance car that was left in the northern area of the Gaza Strip yesterday was attacked by the Israeli army, and therefore we are saying that even the firefighters, the civil defense forces, have been left without the only car that could go to the places of the incidents to be able to put out the fires and, above all, the mechanisms that were used to be able to remove the rubble and get the victims and the injured out of the ruins. Therefore, we are saying that Israel has intentionally caused the collapse of the health system, as well as the civil defense system and the firefighters' bodies. However, this has not only been left here, but also at the moment when this medical personnel, as well as the patients, the injured and the evacuated, were trying to leave these medical centers and the areas around them, Israel began to arrest, above all, the young people, the men. And at this moment it is not known exactly the number of people, or who are those people who have been arrested, since it must also be said that Israel has prevented any journalist, any worker in the media from being in that area, and therefore, we are saying that in the camp of Jabalia there is no medical personnel, there are no journalists, and, literally, there is no life left. However, this has not only been left here, but at the first hours of the night, yesterday at approximately 9 o'clock at night, the Israeli army committed one of the most atrocious massacres, and it is also located in the refugee camp of Jabalia, in the area of Al-Ruja, where the army bombed 5 civilian homes in a residential area, causing the death and injury of 200 people. However, so far we have not been able to know exactly the exact number of victims, the exact number of injured, but it is reported that approximately 200 people were killed, in addition to the injured, and therefore, we are talking about one of the most atrocious massacres committed by the Israeli army. There are still many people left in the rubble. There are injured who have not been able to be treated due to the fact that all the medical centers and hospitals have been completely out of service, and therefore, for more than 20 consecutive days, it can be said that the camp of Jabalia is being ruined. It is being destroyed by the Israeli army, and so far, nobody is doing anything to stop these genocidal acts against the innocent civilian population in the refugee camp of Jabalia.
Now we move on to other topics. In Russia, at the final plenary session of the 16th BRICS summit, leaders stressed the need to strengthen multilateralism and reinforce global institutions to promote world development. Let's see.
President of China, Xi Jinping, emphasized the importance of the BRICS group and its meetings to promote the world's development.
We must give vigor to development in the world. The global south emerges through development and becomes prosperous through development. We must be the main force for development and have a new active and leading role in this new governance to achieve development in this international trade agenda.
Likewise, the External Affairs Minister of India expressed that the BRICS summit is a testimony that there are profound changes needed in the world order.
The BRICS is the testimony that there are profound changes that are emerging in the obsolete world order, and they are the problems that come from many years ago but acquired new forms. We are approaching the management of contemporary technologies and resources. We must recognize that the benefits of globalization are distributed unfairly.
On his hand, the Iranian president highlighted the important role of the BRICS economy bloc and the global south in the construction of a multipolar world.
The BRICS and the global south, by jointly building a better world, can take meaningful actions to establish better systems and fairer relations based on collective satisfactions. This building collisions and establishing friendly relations is important for all countries to be free from unilateralism.
During his intervention, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, condemned the genocide perpetrated by Israel against the Palestinian population and spoke out in support of the victims.
South
Africa is very concerned about the military actions of the State of Israel against the people of Gaza, which we have given the name of genocide. And this genocide is of great concern. It has led South Africa to approach the International Court of Justice to solve this problem of killing of innocent women and children in Gaza. We believe that the world cannot stand by and watch this murder with folded hands, and we have been steadfast in our support in all efforts to establish a viable Palestinian state existing side by side with Israel in peace with internationally recognized borders based on 1967 with Jerusalem as the capital.
Furthermore, in the encounter, the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, urged to take the necessary measures for Israel to withdraw its troops from the Gaza Strip.
The Israeli government has taken the decision to close the Central Labor Office in eastern Jerusalem, which prevents it from ensuring the primary needs of the Palestinian refugees in the occupied Palestinian territories. All measures must be taken to make the Israeli government desist from these practices, and it is therefore of utmost importance to implement the United Nations Security Council resolutions to ensure full access and withdraw Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip so that the local inhabitants can return to their homes and engage in post-conflict recovery.
The leaders of the world powers assured that they seek the construction of a multipolar world that promotes a new sustainable world order where injustice, violence and false flags of freedom will have no place, but equity and global cooperation will.
For its part, the government of Venezuela released a statement thanking the invitation to the BRICS Plus summit in Kazan and also condemned the Brazilian decision to veto Venezuela's entry into the mechanism. In the statement, Caracas declared that Venezuela has the support of the countries participating in the summit to formalize its entry into the integration mechanism. But through an action that contradicts the nature of the BRICS, the Brazilian Foreign Ministry delegation, led by Ambassador Eduardo Paes Saboya, decided to maintain the veto that Bolsonaro applied on Venezuela for years, reproducing the hate, the exclusion, and the intolerance promoted by centers of Western power to prevent it, for now, the entry of Bolivar's homeland to the organization. Finally, the statement closes by affirming that the Venezuelan people is ashamed of the inexplicable and immoral aggression from the Brazilian Foreign Ministry that maintains the worst of Jair Bolsonaro's policies against the Bolivarian Revolution, founded by Commander Hugo Chavez. Also in this context, Cuba expressed its gratitude for joining the BRICS group as a partner. Through his social media account, President Miguel Díaz-Canel said Cuba is honored to enter as a partner country in the BRICS, 5 letters, and a great hope for the countries of the South on the arduous path towards a more just, democratic, equitable, and sustainable international order. The Mexican Senate approved a reform that prevents challenging modifications to the Constitution through judicial appeals. The constitutional reform has been passed with 85 votes in favor by Morena's legislators and their allies from the Labor and Green parties. The ruling was sent to lawmakers to complete the legislative process. In this way, the text grants that unconstitutional actions will not lead to any changes in the Constitution. However, members of the judiciary rejected the motion, and for their part, experts pointed out that the 3 branches of the government are facing a conflict that could trigger an unprecedented constitutional controversy. And now we have a short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English. There you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, arrived in Algeria to hold a meeting with the Algerian Prime Minister, Mohamed Nadid to discuss issues of mutual interest. Caracas and Algiers have maintained strong diplomatic, economic, and social relations for more than 50 years, the African country being a partner of the revolution. The last time the Venezuelan president traveled to the African country was in September of 2023, when the commitment of both nations to the construction of a multi-centric and pluripolar world was reaffirmed. And also, the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, paid an official visit to India on Friday in order to consolidate bilateral economic cooperation relations. In this context, the Vice President of India, Jandeep Dhankar, met with his Venezuelan counterpart Rodriguez to address ways to expand their ties in different sectors. After having attended the 16th BRICS summit, the Venezuelan vice president is fulfilling her broad work agenda in India to strengthen the Caracas-New Delhi alliance in trade, energy, and pharmaceutical areas.
I would like to thank personally, on behalf of President Nicolás Maduro, the Vice President, an extraordinary friend of Venezuela, very dear to me. I would like to thank the support of India so that Venezuela can formally join the BRICS, and that we address that should be our strategic relation of the future. A great producer, the largest oil reserve on the planet, Venezuela has them, an energetic leader that is, despite the criminal blockade, the economic aggression against Venezuela, recovering its productive path to position itself in that strategic role that must play in the international energy market, and India, an economic power, the third economy in the world, and it will consolidate on that path.
We now move on to other topics. Cuba is making progress in the recovery of the eastern province of Guantanamo after the passage of Hurricane Oscar. The National Civil Defense advised the population to comply in a disciplined manner with the information and indications of the local authorities. Likewise, it urged citizens to maintain the measures to protect their lives and those of their relatives and neighbors. Additionally, the agency acknowledged the work of the Guantanamo management bodies and the behavior of the population during the event. As a response to this situation, the Cuban Workers' Federation made a call for solidarity and asked the population to make donations to help families in the province of Guantanamo. The call had an immediate response from the country's workers and citizens. The donations will be delivered to the Cuban government to be sent to the people in need of the affected areas. And in Uruguay, the election silence is underway as over 2 million people reflect on their voting intentions for the upcoming national election on Sunday, October 27th. The election silence comes after past Tuesday the candidates officially closed their electoral campaigns. The measure bans political leaders and citizens to perform acts of proselytizing propaganda on public roads and facilities and online, as well as printed outlets, radio, and television. Likewise, any type of social, cultural, or sporting event has been suspended to guarantee peaceful days before going to the polls. This general ballot seeks the election of the President and Vice President of the Republic, as well as the new members of the Uruguayan Parliament. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.